Patreon.com/the Walk-Off Podcast. $4 a month gets you in there.
Last night he started against Venezuela, and he didn't look bad, but he got blown up. He allowed 4 runs, didn't get out of the second inning. It's March 12th, Craig. But this does kind of line up with some of his starts from last year, which is Toronto Blue Jays fans' biggest concern. What's your concern level with Jose Berrios? Is this too early to carry over concern from last year? What do you want to see from him moving forward? Where are you at on Jose?
I was at a solid 0 with my concern level for Jose Berrios. I am all about Adam Mack and I. When Scott was on his 6.5 month honeymoon, Adam Mack and I had a show where we talked about this. Sorry, no kidding. Oh my God, I've totally lost what we were even talking about.
Jose Berrios, concern.
Thank you. Thanks. Sorry, Scott. You know I'm playing. But with Jose Berrios, whereas last year, would we have wanted his individual performance to be better? There's absolutely no doubt about it. I believe he literally had the highest ERA in the league. Like, what's there to be excited about there? But aren't we? I know that I'm all about the wins and the losses. And when Jose Berrios pitched last season, the Blue Jays were 23-9. That is an eye pop, just an eye pop emoji right there. They were 14-2 at Rogers Center when Jose Berrios pitched. And the 2 losses, one they scored 2 runs, one they scored 0 runs. For whatever reason, when he pitched, they won. Look at, and Adam was saying, oh, I'd love to have you say that around Joel sometime. What I'm about to say now look at Robbie Ray's Cy Young season. Blue Jays were 17-17 when Ray was on the mound. Remember, they missed the play-in game by 1 game that season. Wouldn't we as Blue Jay fans do anything to have 1 game better for Robbie Ray? One more. I give that the Cy Young back if the Jays could have gone 19-16 instead and made the playoffs, right? So I'm all about the wins and the losses. So I was not concerned about Jose Berrios because for whatever reason they won when he was on the mound. The concern that's starting to grow is that we're seeing the exact same thing from last season as this season. That fastball, I don't really understand why, because it's up there in the mid-90s, but it's not
guys are seeing it, eh? Like guys are not dialed in on it.
Yeah. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. He has made his living, has become such a solid pitcher, earned that extension from the Blue Jays because of how good his off-speed stuff is, but it's always been set up by the fastball. If that cupboard is bare on the setup pitch of the fastball, then what are we looking at this year? Gentlemen, I already thought that the Blue Jays were on the verge of making a trade. The depth that they've built here is just sensational. Now I really, really, really wonder if there's a move coming. What sort of bizarre world are we in right now? Where is Yusei Kikuchi the 4 and Jose Berrios is the 5 right now? Like what is even happening before our eyes right now? But yeah, I am skyrocketing with my concern on Jose Berrios, and it started at 0, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm. I kind of am in the same boat here. Listen, it is early. It is March 13th. This was really his first start for lack of, live hitters. But to see it line up with the same struggles from last year is disconcerting. Again, it is 1 start. I'm not going to panic, but my concern is above 0 now, which is where it was to start the season. Okay,
now,
I want to talk. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just before we move on to Berrios, one glass half full that I do think could play well for us here is I didn't hear this anything officially. In passing last season, I did hear that he went through a divorce with his wife, and now I'm hearing just in passing, nothing official. They're actually back together. They got back together this offseason. So remember, that was such a big deal for Berrios when he signed that extension with the Blue Jays. He was there with his family saying point blank, this is clear to us that this was the city for us to raise this family. So if all of a sudden some real life stuff happened and that rug got pulled out from under him on something like that, between the ears, maybe we can see why things went a little south in 2022. So let's give him as Scott says, it is early, but I think Scott and I are both on the same page. Like you said, it is above 0 right now. The concern is above 0, right? That's being fair.
Yes.
This,
but it's a very good point about the personal
I didn't hear
stuff.
This divorce news
Yeah, in passing last year, I even confirmed with a few buddies of mine. Again, nothing official, but who would have heard that in passing as well? I said absolutely. Something did take place last season, but now this off season, she's been there at the spring. Like they apparently are back together. So things like that. I mean, Scott and Adam, how many times do things like that go not undiscovered, but even under the how many times do we really sit and realize that these athletes are human beings? Is my point on that, right? And these sort of things come into play.
I hate being reminded of that.
Sorry, a good point. Yeah, true.
I don't know if there's any truth to that, so I'll talk in vague generalities here, but generally speaking, once it's to the point of a divorce, I mean, 1% of the time you can work it out and it's a happy marriage and like do what you got to do for the kids. I held on to a bad arrangement for several years longer than I should have for my daughter's sake. Kudos to Jose for trying, but that is, if that's the case, a way bigger concern for me than anything else I've heard so far.
Wow.
If he was going through a divorce last year and now that's going to be such a distraction, the trying to fix a broken marriage, that is very difficult to do. And I wasn't even trying to pitch while I did it. So
I was going to say, and Adam Mack, you weren't away from home for for half of that year, by the way.
I mean, look what we just watched Tom Brady go through last year as his marriage fell apart and he continued to pursue his. I'm not saying Jose Berrios is Tom Brady, but like realistically speaking, personal life has a major impact, and it's naive to pretend that there won't be an impact. So if that is a factor in his struggles last year, I think we're kidding ourselves to think that, well, they're back together and things are merry and we'll be on our way. I don't even want to say it because I hope him and his family all the best, and I'll just leave it at that. But that is a concern.
Okay, let's move on to Kevin Gausman. And one of the reasons I want to talk Kevin Gausman is that he has been dominant, and he's expected to be one of the studs at the top of this rotation along with Alek Manoah since 2018. Since he was traded from the Orioles to the Braves had a bunch of data on Kevin Gausman. And basically what this data showed is that he was literally double as effective, twice as effective when he was pitching out of the stretch as to when he was doing his windup. So he literally eliminated his windup. And this is where that rocking toe tap that he was doing the last 3 years came from, right? Was its elimination of the windup, and he used it as like a timing mechanism to pitch. This year with the new rule changes, you can no longer disengage from the rubber once you touch it and get into getting ready to pitch, right? Luis Garcia of the Houston Astros and Kevin Gausman are basically the only pitchers that this affected in all of baseball. They were kind of the poster children. They were taken as examples and were like, hey, this is what they're like. Them pitching were the videos sent out to teams being like, you're not allowed to do this. So Kevin Gausman, after literally, now this is another thing about Gausman, since that change in late 2018 at the trade deadline when he moved to Atlanta, he is the second best pitcher in baseball numbers wise and has the second best FIP in MLB. Listen, I'm not concerned about Kevin Gausman. That said, he did come out just recently and talk about that making this change to his delivery has been a little bit more difficult than he expected and has definitely messed with his timing, and he feels rushed on the mound. Is being a little concerned, like I'm a little concerned? Calm me down, Craig. Tell me that everything's going to be okay.
Well, I do understand why you would be a little concerned. You know, that's another thing that Adam and I had talked about previously is what could happen to derail. There's so much depth. There's so much talent on this team this season. What could happen to derail the Blue Jays from making the playoffs in 2023? Well, Kevin Gausman falling flat on his face is on that list, right? So to just completely dismiss this, Scott, I don't think you should. I think you're right to at least have a little bit of concern. For me, it's more of a let's let's have it play out. What
Yeah.
I really hope is going to happen, and what I actually predict, what I think is going to happen, is that he's just going to see that he can find enough timing, balance, rhythm, all of that in the new way to do it, and still have that splitter be as good a pitch as there is in all of flipping baseball.
Mhm.
Now, between the ears, starting pitchers, right, gentlemen, we know. Our friend Lewis, like we know the Jays kid. We know these guys are different between the ears, right? Like starting pitchers are different between the ears. They're creatures of habit, all that stuff. So once he sees that his new routine can be effective for him, I think he's going to be totally fine. Remember, we were on the verge of this last year of him needing to make changes. Remember that balk he got called for, and he went charging at the ump. We couldn't believe he didn't get ejected. I think Bo stepped right in front of the second base ump. Remember last, so we were on the verge of some of these issues already taking place. And like Scott said, every major league team said, well, what's the new rule? And Major League Baseball said, just see any pitch that Kevin Gausman threw. Just see any pitch that Kevin Gausman threw. That's
a no-go.
right? Yeah, I can't do that anymore. Exactly. Can't do that anymore. So there is going to have to be an adjustment period. There's no doubt about it. What I also think is really going to help with Gausman's between the years and his confidence to just get through this is, man, you talk about that fifth of the fielding independent. I mean, my God, the defensive improvements that this team has just walked in the door right now. My God, I think Gausman is going to be any of the negatives that come from this whole change that he has, and it's not really a change, but more of a tweak, I guess is the way to put it. Of this tweak, I think there's just so much goodness that is coming in for Kevin Gausman. I was so excited when the Jays landed Kevin Gausman. Right now, I'm on cloud 9 that he's a Blue Jay. And if you take a look back at the free agent pitchers that were signed this offseason, holy cow, did we ever get lucky at the timing of signing Kevin Gausman as well? So, do you believe it? Do you believe it? So,
Truly,
Scott,
truly I mean, if he signed this year, like if he signed in this offseason, he would have gotten the Carlos Rodon for sure, like without a doubt.
Might have been out of the Blue Jays price range, for crying out loud. And instead, he's here at the top of our rotation for years to come. So Scott says, am I crazy to be a little, how could you not be a little trepidatious? How could you not be a little concerned? If Alek Manoah had to make a change like these are guys we are counting on for 35 really good starts this season. So absolutely, how could you not pay attention to it? I just don't think it's going to, my point here, Scott, the way it's going to play out, I don't think it's going to be a huge negative here.